fish farming is a profitable business if done right. If done right, it's profitable because you are guaranteed 35% profit margin after your production cycle.
Let's say we have around 1,000 fishes. How much returns am I expected to get from it?
Okay, 1,000 fishes, you are expected to spend 15,000 to feed the fishes. That is, if you are not using any supplementary feed. Remember, I said the supplementary feed can bring your feed cost down to about 40%. But if you are not using any supplementary feed, you are going to spend around 15,000 to feed 1,000 fishes. And then the 1,000 fishes, I'm assuming you already have the pond, and then you buy the fishes at 1 Ghana cedi or 2 Ghana cedis at most. So if the fishes cost 2 Ghana cedis, that means the 1,000 fishes will cost you 2,000 Ghana cedis plus the 15,000 for feed, making 17,000. Now, if the 1,000 fishes survive, you are making around 1,000 kg of biomass in your pond. And 1 kg of fish is sold at 35 to 40 Ghana cedis, depending on the customer, and that's where you are selling. So if you're able to sell your fishes at 35 Ghana cedis, you are making 35,000, because 1,000 kg feed times the 35 Ghana cedis, making 35,000 Ghana cedis. If you take the 17,000 spent on feed and then the fingerlings from it, you are making around 13,000 Ghana cedis.
So welcome back again to the channel. This is the first time seeing me. I'm Charles. Let's talk about farming and agriculture here in Ghana. From the previous videos, we were speaking to Joshua, right?
Yes.
Yes, Joshua. We had an interesting conversation with him where he's talking about building an app in Ghana to help with the agriculture space. Look at the journey on how the whole Catfish journey started for him. But now at least he goes around installing setups for other people. Then we also had a farm tour of one site he broadcast of what he has done. In this particular video, we're going to look at how to start a successful catfish farm. If you're a beginner out there who wants to venture into the business, what do you need? How do you go about it? Generally about catfish business. So before we get into it, like so it promote it to other viewers. Subscribe to the channel so we all go together and share. Right out there, we need some of this information to be inspired to start their own farm today. Alright, without much ado, let's get straight into it. So Joshua, let's take the time in.
Okay, Charles, thank you. Thank you very much. To you listening to me out there who want to set up a catfish farm, it is quite an easy process. You just need to follow the right procedure. So as someone inspired to set up a catfish farm, the first thing you need to identify is the type of farming that you want to do. Is it a backyard farm? Is it a commercial based farm? Or probably a backyard that you are using to feed your own self? If you identify the type of farming and it's a commercial farm, the first thing you need to do is to get the space. That is the space where you are going to set up your farm. This space that you are going to get must meet certain criteria. The space must come with accessible route to your place, easily accessible, because after your production cycle and you are looking for customers to come and buy, somewhere with good route, it will be easy for customers to move to your farm location and to buy the fishes. Secondly, you would have to make a feasibility study on the chosen location to see whether it's fit for fish farming. That is, if you visit the farm, you would have to check one, the flood status of the farm or of the site. If the place is a flood prone area, you would have to put in measures to take care of that. If you identify that the place has no water source, you would have to, that will guide you to choose the type of system that you want to use. So first you select your farm location, and then you assess or conduct a feasibility study there to see which system will best fit the chosen location. If it's a flood area or a waterlogged area, then your best option is to go in for the earthen pond, because earthen ponds are mostly dug in waterlogged areas. What this benefits the pond is that because it's a waterlogged area, there is always an inflow of fresh water from the earth to your ponds, and then fishes do well in earthen ponds. If the place is a dry place that you cannot dig an earthen pond, or after your feasibility study it is determined that you cannot build an earthen pond there, then you need to choose either of this system, the conventional way of culturing fish. If you have the commercial water source, that is Ghana water there that you can afford to change every 2 to 3 days, or go in for a water management system, that is the RAS, the RAS systems, the Biofloc system, or the system we are exhibiting here, that is the hybrid between the Biofloc and then the RAS system. After identifying this, then you choose the species of fish that you want to culture. That is either tilapia, catfish, Erythroides niloticus, or any other fish that you want to culture. If it's tilapia, you know that tilapia mostly is done in earthen ponds, and I've just exhibited our breakthrough here that we are culturing tilapia in tarpaulin ponds because it's done in the Asian areas. They culture tilapia in tarpaulin ponds and they are succeeding. Why can't we do it here? So this is what we have behind us. So if you identify the species of fish, then you choose the breed of fish that will suit the system. The breed of fish, if I take catfish into consideration, we have different breeds. We have the Clarias garapinus, we have the Heterobanchus longifinis. That is the breeds of fishes
that we have.
Yes. So you know that the hybrid, that is the Heteroclarias, the fusion between the Clarias garapinus and then the Heterobanchus longifinis. That is the hybrid catfish. The hybrid catfish does well in earthen ponds. They have faster growth rate in their first 3 months, and then they can grow as big as any size that you want it to grow to.
The hybrid?
Yeah, the hybrid catfish. But then with the Clarias garapinus, they grow faster in their first 3 months, and then after the first 3 months, they slow down. They cannot grow as big as the hybrid catfish. So if you are looking at culturing the fish for a long period, it's better you go in for the hybrid catfish.
Okay.
After identifying the breed of catfish, then you resort to setting up your farm, or conducting a market survey first before setting up your farm.
That's a very key.
Yes, you have to conduct a market survey. What the market survey will do is that, one, it will give you information that probably you are not privy to before entering into the fish farming business, as in the price of fish sold in market, the price of fishes in market, the potential customers. Conducting a proper market survey will give you a potential market, because someone who will patronize your fish after the production cycle. The market survey will also show you how much you need to invest in the business, and after investing that amount, how much are you going to make actually after your production cycle. So market survey is very, very important in fish farming and in any other business. It's very, very important. After conducting your market survey, then if you are technical enough to set up your farm, that is fine. But if you are not, then you need to get a consultant to set up your farm, to consult, and then probably a technician to set up your farm. And I recommend Jakdam Farm Life to you. So the consultants you consult, one will help you as to getting the right fishes, getting the right system, and after the setup, mentoring you through your production cycle. After your production cycle, the consultant should be able to give you potential buyers.
Okay.
So we don't just consult someone to set up farm. The person must have a track record of giving the client the support after setting up the farm, and also helping the client sell off the stock. Because if you produce and you have a successful cycle and you have no one to buy your fishes, it is of no need.
It's a big problem.
Yes, it's a big problem. So you need to acknowledge that and then consult a well-known consultant to set up your farm. It is simple to set up a catfish farming, but you need to follow these procedures in order to have a successful and then the smooth cycle. That is all you need to know before you set up a fish farm, catfish farm. Yeah.
So I will ask, if I'm starting, how much capital would I need? They will mention all this system, all this process. How much money do I need to start a catfish farm as a beginner?
Okay, so if you need something small, there are farms that start at 10,000 capacity, farms start at 1,000 capacity, 500. It all boils down to your financial capability. So you assess yourself, but I always advise clients, always start small and then grow. You can always add up. So fish farming, you can start with as low as 3,000 Ghana cedis. All you need is the pond and then your fishes and a good water source
for them.
Yes, and you can start feeding them. That is it. But if you need a RAS system and then the Biofloc system, it comes with a little bit an extra cost. That is getting an aerator, getting an water pump or whatsoever that you need. But with as low as 3,000 Ghana cedis, you can start fish farm. But if you need one of our packages, it starts from 5,000 Ghana cedis. You can get a nice package for yourself. 10,000 Ghana cedis, you can get 1,000 capacity tilapia farm. A complete setup. All you need to do is to buy your feed and then start feeding your fishes. So it is easy to start a fish farm, but then if you start, you must make sure that you have someone behind you to mentor you through your production cycle so you gain your feet. That is it.
Okay, okay. And somehow say you should talk about water availability and stuff. Do I need a particular kind of water when I'm doing fish farming or catfish farming?
Okay. Any water that is habitable by fishes or living organisms, you just have to test your water parameters to make sure that they meet the fish farming requirements. That is why it is very important to get a formal training. I failed to mention that earlier, but you have to get a formal training for you to even conduct a proper market survey. So you get the proper training, the right training from an experienced fish farmer or a consultant. So if you do that, then you are free to set up all these things.
Okay, okay. So initially you spoke about the area or the land where you are going to do the catfish farm. I wanted to know, if I'm doing my catfish farm, do I need to acquire a big land to do a catfish farm? Can I do it just as my backyard? What should I look at in terms of area, and how can I go about it?
Fish farming is space efficient in the sense that it doesn't require much space. A space of 10 feet by 10 feet can culture around 600 fishes. 10 by 15 feet space can culture 1,500. So if you have a space, let's say 50 by 100 feet space, or if you have a backyard with, let's say, 20 by 20 feet space, you can do more than 1,000 fishes there. It doesn't really require much space. Your own backyard, you can culture fish. Even the IBC tanks, the white tanks, can culture up to 100 fishes. So you don't need space. The small space we see here, we have 6,000 capacity. Yes, we have 6,000 capacity here. So each pond is containing around 1,500 and it can go as high as 3,000 capacity. So you don't need much space to start fish farming. The only thing you need is the holding container or your pond, and you can start with as low as 10 fishes, 100 fishes, 20 fishes, 2,000, 3,000, 100,000. The world boils down to your...
I've seen situations where people start fishes with, see the tank here, this one, close to that blue tanks. But they do it. Is it advisable? Can this be in there?
You know, with fish farming, you are not required to create a standard pond. I mean, let me rephrase the statement. All you need for fish farming is a holding container that will not pollute the pond water or the water that the fishes are living in. So if it's a plastic container that has no chemical to pollute the water, you can do it in. If it is a rubber or any form of container, concrete container, you can stock your fishes in. So it doesn't really matter the size, the shape.
Okay.
Yes, it doesn't really matter the shape and then the size. A circular tank can stock fishes. All you need to do is to know the volume of water that particular container can accommodate. That drum that you are talking about is around 205 liters. That means you can culture around 20 fishes in that particular pond. Yes. So if you have 5 of that ponds at home and you are saying you need a bigger space to start fish farming, then
Listen, to take a lot of space.
Yes, it will not take a lot of space. It will not take a lot of space.
So you need a bigger space to start a catfish.
No. Your backyard. I started fish farming at my backyard. And now my backyard is holding 8,000 capacity.
Wow.
8,000 capacity right at my backyard. Someone may choose to even park their vehicles there, but I am business oriented.
That's nice. That's nice. And someone watching us said, I've heard of this catfish farming business a lot. I've heard that a lot of your cost goes into feed, and the feeding them is very expensive.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about feed? What are the various options? And what type of feed do they eat?
Okay. So when it comes to feeding, in the life of every living organism, feeding is very, very important. And it's no different in catfish farming. You must have a quality feed available for your fishes. In fish farming, basically we have 2 types of feeds. We have the floating feeds and then the sinking feeds. That is, the sinking feeds are the feeds that sinks or submerges down to the bottom of the pond when you dispense it into your pond. Those feeds are mostly locally manufactured. Yes, are locally manufactured. And then the floating feeds are mostly foreign feeds. Whenever you dispense it, it floats on top of the pond. So it has good buoyancy in terms of fish being able to pick the feed. It doesn't move around. Your fish is able to easily pick the feed. You are easily, it's easy for you to monitor the amount of feed that the fishes have eaten, rather than the feed sinking to the bottom. Probably it's uneaten and it's causing a mess down there. So we have the sinking feed and then the floating feed. And then with the sinking feed, it is mostly used in the earthen ponds. And then the floating feeds can be used wherever that you choose to.
Why is it that the sinking feed is mostly used in earthen pond?
It is assumed that with earthen ponds, since you don't get to change water, you don't have to change water frequently. The feed can sink to the bottom, and then the fishes can pick the feed from beneath and eat. Yes, so it is advisable to use those type of feed in the earthen pond. If you are culturing in tarpaulin, the tarpaulin alone doesn't have any capability to filter the water. But if you are using it in earthen ponds, the soil has the capability to filter out the dirt, and then your fishes will survive. That is why the earthen pond is the easiest system of culturing fish in fish farming. And then as well, you asked about how to feed your fishes and the prices of feed and all that. So in fish farming, feeding takes about 70 to 80% of your production cost. And if you're able to beat down the amount of feed or utilize your feed well, you get to make more profits. So as a fish farmer, what you have to ask yourself is that, am I making good use of the feed that I'm buying? Is the feed quality, is it of standard? So feed are classified in, or let's say, are judged by their ability to help your fish to grow. And then the fishes requires more protein to grow. So feeds are mostly graded with their protein content. The higher the protein content, the more expensive, and then quality the feed is. Yes. So you have to make sure that you feed your fishes with quality feed. I don't want to make mention of any brands of feed here because of, I don't know, but I don't want to mention the brands of feed. But I have a video that talks about quality feeds that people can look at. Yeah, people can check out. So the feeding consists of 75% or contains 75% of your production cost. So as well as you buying the commercial feed, you can also make use of the supplementary feed we spoke in our previous video.
Which I advise, if not, what you go and check those ones out.
Yes, but you can also use the supplementary feed to cut down the feed cost and then make more profit in your fish farming business. Yes. But it is good to buy quality feed, and that's it. The less quality feed also poses threat of causing infections and other stuff in your pond water. Yes. They are locally manufactured feed that are quality, but most of them nowadays you find issues with it. So
the foreign ones are better.
I wouldn't say the foreign ones are quality, but then that's the truth though. That's the truth.
It's quite unfortunate.
It's quite unfortunate that you are urging people to patronize the foreign feeds, but the local feeds, they produce good feed today, tomorrow you go and then you get a mess. So that is it.
And the supplementary feed, can you mention some? I know that Azola. Is there the other ones?
We have Azola, we have duckweed, we have warfare. The duckweed, Azola, and warfare all comes from the same family. Yes. So they are all floating aquatic plants. You just have to spread it on top of water, fertilize the water, and then it grows, it multiplies. You fetch and then feed your fishes with it. You also have water hyacinth, water lily, water lettuce. Yes. Yeah, those are all aquatic plants. These are all aquatic plants used to feed your fishes. And they are very good. They are very good. Medicinal as well.
Okay. Someone is watching us. You're advising us to go into catfish farming, to start aquaculture in our backyards at home. Is it profitable? Is it a profitable business?
Yes, fish.
Why is it profitable? How is it profitable?
Okay. Fish farming is a profitable business if done right. If done right, it's profitable because you are guaranteed 35% profit margin after your production cycle. But then, remember I said if done right, because you would have to get quality feed to feed your fishes to the weight that you would have to sell them in order to make profit. So if you are buying feed and you are not assessing something called feed economic ratio basically talks about the output that you are getting from your feed. If you buy 1 kg of feed for, let's say, 35 cedis, and then 1 kg of fish is sold at 35 cedis, that means you are not making any profits. So you have to do your feed economic ratio, in the sense that you have to calculate this feed that I'm buying is the 1 kg of feed is 20 cedis. That means if I use it to feed my fishes and I sell the fish at 35 cedis, I'm making 15 cedis. That is what most farmers fail to do. So you would probably end up losing. Yeah.
Okay. But generally, it's profitable. Let's say I start 1,000. Let's say I've heard 1,000 fishes. How much return am I expected to get from it?
Okay, 1,000 fishes. You are expected to spend 15,000 to feed the fishes. That is if you are not using any supplementary feed. Remember I said the supplementary feed can bring your feed cost down to about 40%. But if you are not using any supplementary feed, you are going to spend around 15,000 to feed 1,000 fishes. And then the 1,000 fishes, I'm assuming you already have the pond, and then you buy the fishes at 1 Ghana cedi or 2 Ghana cedis at most. If the fishes cost 2 Ghana cedis, that means the 1,000 fishes will cost you 2,000 Ghana cedis plus the 15,000 per feed, making 17,000. Now, if the 1,000 fishes survive, you are making around 1,000 kg of biomass in your pond, and 1 kg of fish is sold at 35 to 40 Ghana cedis, depending on the customer and then where you are selling. So if you're able to sell your fishes at 35 Ghana cedis, you are making 35,000, because 1,000 kg feed times the 35 Ghana cedis, making 35,000 Ghana cedis. If you take the 17,000 spent on feed and then the fingerlings from it, you are making around 13,000 Ghana cedis, which is something.
It's profitable, yeah. If let's say, okay, so let's say the cost of the Capolin pond, yeah, 1,000 fishes, how much do we say?
3,000 Ghana cedis. So take on the rate 13,000, 13,000, and then probably you budget 1,000 Ghana cedis for water if you are not using the RAS system or the Biofloc or a hybrid system. You budget, let's say, 1,000 Ghana cedis for water change or 2,000 for water change. You are still making something good.
And that's kind of like 8,000 cedis. That's the first time you had it. So currently, by the pond again, you have managed to buy fishes and stuff, and you are good to go. Okay. And if there's anything, final message for people when it comes to catfish farming, what would they say is the main challenge that comes to the business that you should watch out for?
Okay, so I would advise people to stick to the basics if you want to start catfish farming. In the sense that if you need to buy quality feed, buy quality feed. I've seen people rush into producing their own feed and then causing a mess, because feed formulation is also another value chain on its own. But if you want to do everything by yourself, someone built the pond on his own, buy the fishes. Some even want to hatch the fishes themselves. They don't want to buy anything. I said stick to the basics. Buy your fishes from a respected hatchery. Buy quality seeds from them. Buy quality feed. Change your water regularly as required. And then that's it. You are going to succeed. So start small and then increase and then buy quality. That is it. That is the advice that I will give to people.
Okay, one final message. If I'm starting, what quantity should I make? I don't have no knowledge. What quantity should at my first cycle I should start with?
Okay, so that depends on one, your availability and your capability of hiring extra labor or getting extra labor. This farm, for instance, is operated by someone who has never done fish farming in his life. So he is managing 6,500. You can start with 500, you can start with 1,000. I always say it boils down to your pocket. Someone removing 100,000, 200,000 to set up a farm is nothing for him. But probably you removing 10,000 is something to you. So if I say start small, the small will mean someone, will mean 10,000 to someone. The small amount will also mean 1,000 pieces or 500 pieces to someone. You just watch your financial strength and start with something meaningful, and then scale up afterwards.
So this will end out the video. We've spoken extensively. We spent a lot of hours shooting the videos. And I said, if you just chance on this one, We filmed like that 2 videos, had a conversation with him, how journey started, with a farm tour of this beautiful farm you see in here. In this final one, we are looking at how to start. So as you watching, if you watch all these videos heavily dispatch, you can also get a feel of how the business is and what you need to do to get into it. I believe it's been educative and it's been informative as well. I like so to promote it to other viewers. Share this video. Echo other want to go into the business, want to learn more about it. Share it to them so they can watch and be inspired. And subscribe. It's free to subscribe. You don't to directly charge you a dime to subscribe. Subscribe and let's go together. As I always say, the goal is to reach 100,000 subscribers. So subscribe and let's get to that target before the year ends. So I'll see you guys in the next tour. Peace out.